The M1 vehicles, M1 is a European designation of vehicle. It's a passenger car, effectively. M1 is one of those little codes on the back of your driving license that nobody understands, and it's basically a passenger vehicle. And we have 3 car manufacturers, Tata Motors in the guise of their European Technical Centre, Jaguar Land Rover and Ford Motor Company, and those guys will be bringing vehicles which they have tested, so we know that by the time that we bring them into our city theatre, those vehicles are safe. What we will be doing, though, is demonstrating the utility of those vehicles, the sort of things that those vehicles can do and can't do, in a whole series of evolutionary trials. So we'll be starting with trials and demonstrations of things that are very simple, a single vehicle on a closed road in either Milton Keynes or Coventry, 2 very different cities chosen because they are so different. Milton Keynes, very much a designed city, lots of parallel roads, lots of roundabouts, 2 bus lanes, about 7 sets of traffic lights. Not a typical town or city. And then Coventry, which is typical of most European towns and cities, at least one which has evolved and isn't as directly planned as Milton Keynes is. So we have some elements of being able to show that if we can get these technologies to work in both those 2 cities, then actually we've covered 90% of the cities that are out there. And the autonomous vehicle and connected vehicles element of Autodrive is quite evolutionary. It'll be the sort of program that, certainly in terms of the autonomous vehicles, there's lots of driver aids on cars now, and we're going to wake up one day and realize that if we turn all these things on at once, the car's going to drive itself. In our 3-year program, we are not going to get to the position where we've got passenger vehicles driving with no driver in there, capable of driving all of the time. That's a decade away, at least. What we have said, though, is that we are going to aim to have connected and autonomous vehicles which are capable of being driven and driving some of the time fully autonomously. There'll always be occasions where the cars aren't capable technically of being fully autonomous. Some weather conditions will affect them. They really struggle in snow. In the same way that a human driver loses perception of his environment when it's snowed because everything kind of looks different. A lot of the autonomous vehicles that rely on visual systems have exactly the same problem. It's a nightmare for them. But we will get to a position where we have some vehicles that we're operating fully autonomously, some of the time in open traffic in the next 3 years. And that's kind of scary, challenging. Then we have this thing called LSATs, Low-Speed Autonomous Transport System. You may have seen recently in the papers a lot of publicity around something called the LUTS project. That's a project that's happening in Milton Keynes. It's nothing to do with Autodrive, but Autodrive is heavily reliant on it. And these are autonomous 2-person vehicles. They won't actually look like this. This is the Darth Vader version. Again, some people love it, some people hate it, but I don't think the marketing folk will let us go to operation in this. These are fully autonomous electric pods and are designed for last mile and a half connectivity. What we will do in UK Autodrive is to take the idea that by the time we start worrying about these pods, the concept of them as vehicles will have been proven. That's our assumption. We will take this concept and we'll have 40 of these vehicles and we will demonstrate what a public transport system looks like in Milton Keynes using these vehicles. So a system of vehicles that can be requested from any point to take you to any point, interacting with pedestrians. These vehicles are designed to operate deep into urban environments where there might be pedestrian cyclists, not cars as such. They're not designed to go on the roads. So a lot of processing in these vehicles to ensure that they can operate safely in that type of environment. They'll change their speeds, they'll stop if there's too many pedestrians around, so all sorts of exciting things to do there. If the M1 cars were evolutionary, this is the revolutionary side of the story, because for UK Autodrive, for us, these vehicles won't have any operator controls in them. They'll be fully autonomous from the time they hit the streets in late 2017, early 2018, I guess, if all goes to plan.